Hi guys, basically one of the fixtures here at Submission Radio. It's an honor to be talking to Beneil Dariush as things in the 155 division keep changing, keep evolving. And of course, now with the news of Fiziev fighting Justin Gaethje, UFC 313 just dropping. Get him on to get an update on what could be next for him. Beneil Dariush, welcome to the program.
What's up, brother? Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Excited to be here.
Every time I talk to you, man, things are happening in your division.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're to do with you potentially having to step in last second. Other times it's to do with other people in the division. Break down your reaction. Dana White just announced Justin Gaethje Fiziev for UFC 313. What was your reaction when you saw that fight being made, the rematch?
I'm assuming Justin's happy because I don't think he really wanted that fight. That wasn't a fight that he wanted. Just knowing Justin, I'm assuming UFC had to do something extra for him. I'm assuming. I don't know because he's already fought him. He doesn't want to fight him again. So uh, that's my immediate reaction. It's a tough fight for Fiziev because he's lost to him once and now he's fighting him again and. Justin's in probably great shape. I'm assuming he's in great shape. And then I don't know where Rafael is, taking the fight on short notice like that. So that's tough.
Break it down for me, man. How do you actually think this rematch goes? Obviously, you just mentioned, Gaethje's been training for this. He's been in training camp. We don't quite know where Fiziev's been in terms of training camp. But how do you see this rematch going?
Is it 3 week? Is it 3 rounds or 5 rounds?
It's a good question, man. I'd need to double check, but let's say it's 3 rounds.
Yeah, so 3 rounds. Gaethje kind of has to do similar things he did last time, I think last time he had a lot of fakes, and the fakes kind of showed what Rafael was looking to do. So I think that's the right approach. Is show a lot of fakes, and that'll show you the openings and the dangers of fighting a guy like Rafael Fiziev. And I'm sure Fiziev is going to make more adjustments because he lost the last fight. Typically, when you lose, you make more adjustments. That's just there's no way around it. It's hard to make adjustments when you win, and so that's going to be. I think it's going to be a really interesting match. The issues for Fiziev is obviously conditioning because he took it short notice and the weight cut, and then also to prepare for a guy like Justin. It's not so easy to do it, especially if you're not a grappler. What I mean by that is you have to strike with him, right? So he uses a really wide range of weapons, and I know it doesn't seem like that when you think of Justin Gaethje, but think about it. He creates angles. He's able to low kick, high kick. He's able to throw power punches in the pocket. He can fight from the outside. He's a tricky fighter, and you never know what he's gonna do. So Fiziev has a lot of homework to do, and just it's a tough fight for him for sure. I'm assuming he's gonna come in underdog.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if this is a 3 round or a 5 round fight because with Dan Hooker, I think they changed it to 3 rounds. Like right before Dan pulled out, he was saying it went from 5 rounds to 3 rounds. But now this is saying it is the co-main event. I don't know. The whole thing confuses me. If it is 5 rounds, though, that would benefit Gaethje, right? Because he's had the longer training camp.
Yeah, I would think so. It depends on. Yeah, I think so. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I think 5 rounds is better for Gaethje. The Here's what I know from Gaethje. If you listen to his interviews and when you speak with him, he'll say this like, "I'm not getting paid extra for those 10 minutes, so I don't want to do 25 minute fight. I rather do a 15 minute fight because they're not paying me extra." So I think it might be 3 rounds, like you said.
Hey, just quickly, obviously, I'm friends with Dan Hooker. He was supposed to fight Justin Gaethje. I feel horrible for him because, he's kind of been working for this fight with Gaethje for a really long time. Like, we used to speak about it a long time ago, and that was kind of one of the guys he's always wanted to fight. But if the fight did happen in under 3 rounds, how do you think that fight between Hooker and Gaethje actually would have looked?
Um, I would just if I was Gaethje, I would look to break down the legs, and then after that, I would start to look for big punches. If I'm
Mm,
Dan, my leg checks have to be real, like leg defense has to be in terms of kicks has to be really on point because that's what Charles Oliveira did. He had great defense as far as checking kicks, and then
Hmm.
he was able to eventually use that to his advantage. I think that's something Dan could do, and then start using his jab, his range to his advantage. I think a speed advantage goes to Justin, but speed isn't everything. Timing is just as important. Precision is just as important, and I think if Dan could figure out his timing, he can figure out his distance and precision. I think he could definitely come up, but I would definitely favor Justin Gaethje in a fight against Dan Hooker.
Dude, I'll tell you what. I spoke to two people just before. I spoke to Luke Thomas and Robert Whitaker, and we both sort of touched on the fact that this fight wasn't happening. And they had this thing where they're like, "Oh, we have a sense of relief in a way because these two guys going into the octagon together, right? Like it could have been like exciting, but you imagine that's going to be like a massacre, right? Like both guys just coming at each other."
Yeah, so my understanding is when Dustin Poirier and Gaethje fought the first time, I think Dustin Poirier was in the hospital, right? Even though he won the fight, he ended up in the hospital.
Mm,
Dan Hooker fought Dustin Poirier. I think they both went to the hospital that
yeah.
fight. Justin Gaethje, like every single time he fights, he's in a car crash, and these are his own words. It's a really well put saying for the way he fights because he creates these scenarios where you almost have to meet him in these exchanges, and that's where all the damage happens. So yeah, I can understand the sense of relief from these guys.
All right, man. And by the way, for those watching, before we started doing this interview, I was like, "Hey, man, were you going to be a part of this? Could you have potentially fought Gaethje?" And you kind of broke it down for me a little bit. But for those wondering, you were one of the four names that everyone was thinking, "Okay, is Beneil going to get this fight?" What actually went on behind the scenes from your perspective on this one?
So I had a short talk with my manager, but here's a couple of things would have to take place for me to be able to actually take this fight. One, I would, I can't make 55 right now. I just made weight, and uh, it's not like I'm just eating trash and not training. But after a hard camp, I blow up.
Mm.
I gain weight, and that's the recover.
What are we weighing right now, Beneil?
I'm between 180 and 185. It
Have we
depends
had
on.
milk? Any milk treats?
I've had lots of milk, milk and honey. That's the go-to. But anyways, I'm about 180 to 185. So to get down to weight, the lowest I would do in like 10 days would have to be 165. That's one thing. Another thing is I'm buddies with Justin Gaethje. So in order for Justin Gaethje and I to fight, we've talked about fighting for the belt, but in order for us to fight, like honestly, I would probably need a call from him. He'd be like, "Hey, let's do this," and I'd be like, "All right, that's fine, let's do it." Because he's in a better position for me to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna fight you." That's kind of me just taking advantage, and it's a bit of a lack of integrity. But if Justin calls me and he's like, "Look, I don't really have an opponent, an ideal opponent, and this fight makes the most sense. Let's do it." Okay, that's fine. We could do that. So that's kind of where I was mindset. But most important thing was the weight. I'm a fat boy right now, and I don't have any plans to go out there and fight.
You're not a fat boy, man. I saw you. You were over at King's Anaheim, one of the best gyms, of course, over there in the States, your gym. And I saw you were doing a
Yeah,
bit of Greco-Roman wrestling with the shirt off.
yeah.
I'm like, who's this? Who's this potential middleweight champion? Hey, let me ask you this real quick. Did you actually speak to Justin at all? Like, did you guys DM or speak at all when this whole thing was going on?
Nah, I figured I'd leave him alone. Last thing he needs is me like texting him, "Hey, bro, how you doing?" It's like, it, it's not really ideal, but obviously I'll message him after the fight and hopefully congratulate him.
Mm. All right, so let's talk about this division because your division, it's like gridlocked right now, right? What was your reaction first of all when you saw that this Michael Chandler Paddy Pimblett fight was going to be made for Miami? Were you shocked or surprised at all to see them match these guys up?
Mm, if you look at rankings, you say, "Oh, that fight doesn't make sense." But in reality, the fight does make sense because Chandler shouldn't be ranked number 7. I think, what is he, 2-4 in the UFC? I believe he's like 2-4 in the UFC. So he could be ranked top 15, but he shouldn't be ranked top 10. That's my opinion. So the fight does make sense as far as that goes, because if you look at Paddy, he fought Tony Ferguson as well. He those are kind of like stepping stone guys. I think the UFC is making this fight happen is because if Paddy wins, great. We have ourselves a new star, a contender as well, possibly looking at a title shot. If Michael Chandler wins, he's exciting. He's back in the win column. They'll probably give him one more fight, and then they'll give him a title shot or something crazy like that. I think Tony Ferguson put it best. He's got Dana White privilege.
Do you think that Paddy could beat Michael Chandler?
Of course, of course. I think it's not just age, but I think it's motivation. I think age actually has nothing to do with it. It's more motivation. Like Paddy, he wants to be champion. He's training his butt off all the time. He has a desire. If you look at Michael Chandler's last fight, it looked like he's never wrestled before. This guy was, I believe, he was All American, right? When he wrestled, he knows how to wrestle. Yet he got taken down every single round by Charles Oliveira. It just tells me, he goes into the gym, he hits pads, he spars, but the hard things like jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, especially wrestling, because wrestling is really hard on the body. Those are things he doesn't want to do. But if you want to be a champion, you can't stop wrestling.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm just having a look here. Yeah, his wrestling credentials are pretty impressive. Finished fourth at the Big 12 Championships, and he was looked at to be one of the hottest wrestlers for a while, I think. Anyway, interesting. Let me ask you this, dude. So let's say, okay, these guys are fighting. This is what's going on the side. You've got Arman as well. He wasn't able to fight Islam. He's floating around for a fight. We've got Charles Oliveira. We've got Dustin Poirier. We've got some other people floating around. How would you book the division right now if it was up to you? And of course, where do you slot into this whole thing?
So, man, I'll speak for myself. I want to fight earlier rather than later, right? I feel pretty good. I'm starting to, I'm back into the training. I'd love to have like a 10-week camp and go back into a fight. So whoever's available, I want somebody ranked ahead of me, right? Earlier I mentioned Dustin Poirier. I mentioned Max Holloway and Chandler. Obviously, Chandler's not on the table. I've heard rumors of Dustin Poirier possibly fighting Max Holloway. I don't know how true that is, but that fight doesn't make sense in terms of rankings, but it makes sense in terms of it's being Dustin's last fight. Just kind of a last fight, adios kind of fight, goodbye fight.
Are you surprised that Dustin didn't want this Ilia Topuria fight?
Yeah, I don't know if that was ever on the table for him, but I think if I'm Dustin, I want to go out on a win. So fighting Max Holloway, I think he's beat him twice already. That's probably why he would prefer Max Holloway over Ilia Topuria. And remember, Ilia, he's knocking people out, but he can wrestle and he's a submission specialist too. People forget that. So I think that's kind of the worst matchup for Dustin Poirier. So that being said, here's how I would. Here's how I'm thinking things might go. I don't
break it
actually
down
know.
for me. Yeah.
So I think they'll let I think they'll let Islam chill till October. I know they're saying June, but I think they'll let him chill till October and they'll have him fight in Abu Dhabi. I think a good idea would be to set up, because if Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway are fighting, I don't know if that's true. I've just heard rumors. If that's true, okay, you got those two guys there. That leaves you with Charles and Arman. Those two have fought already, so you can have Ilya fight one of those two guys. So that's what I'm thinking. You can have. Let's see what makes more sense. Man, I think the fight that makes more sense is I would say Charles. I
You
would
think
like to see.
Charles? Because Arman, I feel like the UFC is not high on Arman. It's like, how do we kind of make this guy pay?
So
making five.
that's why I'm saying that if Ilya and Charles fight, the winner of that becomes number one contender, and then
Mm.
whoever's left is going to fight Arman, and it could be Dan if Dan recovers in time, or it could be I don't really know anybody else that you know. Unfortunately, he's my last loss, so I don't think they'll let me fight him so fast. But they'll want him to fight somebody in the top five, top 10. So I think it would probably be Dan. That's the way I'm seeing things. But who knows?
All right, guys, it's time for a new year and a new you. Thanks to our friends at MANSCAPED. Have you sorted all the best products to get you looking good downstairs and all over your body in 2025? Performance Package 5.0 Ultra by MANSCAPED is your secret weapon for stepping into 2025 sharp, clean, and confident. Don't be the guy that rolls into January looking like you just emerged from hibernation. Let the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 handle your overgrowth so you can focus on leveling up. Start 2025 with precision, because the only thing that should be growing this year is your success and not your scruff. Join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code word submission now. Keep this show going. Get 20% off and free shipping today. Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the all-in-one grooming kit. Of course, I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is the best tool you could have. It also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. Full aftercare, which helps you treat yourself right with the crop soother and the crop preserver. Keeps you fresh and comfortable and confident, so you're always ready to move forward. And you get some free gift. Kick off the year with a bonus that elevates your routine. The Boxers 2.0, which I love to wear. They're one of the most comfortable boxers you can wear. And the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag, which I take with me everywhere I go. Manscaped has a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so you can try it risk-free right now. Use the code word submission. Go right now, 20% off and free shipping. And I just want to talk to you guys about SAILY as well. SAILY is an unbelievable app that's going to change the game forever when it comes to travel, and you want to be covered with your phone. Forget lining up at airports and having to get a new SIM, taking your SIM out, keeping it in a little baggie, making sure you don't lose it. Forget all of that. SAILY has you sorted. All you got to do is download the app, choose the amount that you want to spend, what country you want to go to, and boom, like that, you are sorted. I just went to New Zealand. I was absolutely covered. I didn't want to spend the $10 or $20 or $30 a day that I was going to have to spend because of my provider. I put in an amount. It had me covered the entire time, and I even still have data left over because it was so smooth and easy. One of the things I love about SAILY as well that you may not realize is it actually comes with an ad blocker. So if you are watching videos or doing stuff on the internet, why waste your data on ads? The ad blocker has you sorted, and it comes with web protection as well. You know, malware on your device is the last thing you need on your travels, and SAILY gets you sorted and protected too. So why not jump on right now, use the code word submission, get 15% off. All you gotta do is download the app, choose your destination, where you wanna go, the amount of money you wanna spend, activate it on your phone without having to take out your SIM card, without having to line up at airports, without having to re-sign different documents. SAILY has you sorted, whether you need a little bit of data or a lot of data, whatever your plan is, SAILY has you covered wherever you go in the world. Go on right now, check out the app. It's the most seamless and easiest process when it comes to travel eSIMs that you can experience. Use the code word submission, 15% off. Jump on right now. What are you waiting for? Grab your SAILY today. If you're traveling tomorrow, next month, get it sorted today. Use the code word submission while it's still active. It's 15% off. SAILY.com/submission gets you sorted. Try it today, whether it's a lot of data, small amount of data. SAILY has you sorted. Easy, seamless, highly recommended. Now back to the program. Who do you think wins between Arman and Dan in this fight? These guys have had a feud and a rivalry for a long time.
I think you take the fight into the distance, and then Dan looks a lot better. Dan always seems to struggle early on in the first and the second round. You know, if you watch his fight with Gamrot, I know he came back in that first round, but he was struggling quite a bit in the first 2-3 minutes of the fight. He struggles with guys who start fast. That was an issue he had with Chandler as well. So I think if the fight goes into the distance, actually Dan is a great fighter. When you have a five round fight, when you have where you got to dig, and Dan does great, and I think he could do that with Arman. So I think if it's a 5-round fight, he's got a good chance. I think if it's a 3-round fight, it's going to be a lot harder for him because Arman is got that wrestling. He can't take you down, and he can hold you 1 or 2 rounds, and that right there, you just lost either 33% of the fight or 66% of the fight, and then you see how it goes from there.
All right. So what does this mean for you? Well, who can we match you up with? Where are we going to go next, Beneil?
Yeah, so kind of not a whole lot left. I think only Gamma is available, and we just had that. We fought already,
Yeah,
and
you already fought against Gamrot.
yeah, not trying. I'd like to have. I'd like to have a rematch with somebody I've lost before. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at. Um, it's there's really not a whole lot. If we're talking top 10, they could pull somebody from the top 15. But if we're talking top 10, really not a whole lot available. I hope I don't have to wait, but I might have to wait a little bit. And it could be a Dan Hooker if they don't match him up with Arman. Who else is there? Winner of Chandler and Paddy, but that's gonna take way too long. I don't know. Maybe the loser. Well, if Fiziev loses, maybe I get Fiziev. It's just no matter what, it takes forever for me to fight. So I'd like to fight. May or June. I'd like to get back in there quickly. Originally, I was hoping for. I spoke with Sean Shelby and I told him, if you guys get me something for April, I'll be ready. They never got back to me, so I just, took a vacation, went on vacation with the family. I was cornering guys these last couple of weekends, so it's been kind of slow for me. But if they had told me, I would have been ready for April. Now I'm looking at May, so I really don't know. I really don't. Honestly, I don't have an answer who's going to be available for me. So we'll see who they give me. It,
What do
it
you
could
think
be
of?
it could be somebody from the top 15.
Well, I was going to say, what about Moicano? I know that you guys never got a chance to have that fight, but then I guess he went out there and he lost to Islam in the fashion that he lost to Islam in. So I guess, it's just not as much to sort of gain from beating him now.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's the fight, okay, that's the fight. Here's my issue. I was ranked ahead of Moicano, so if anybody should get the title shot, I thought it was me, but I didn't get it. And then Dana, somewhere along the way, said, we'll make it up to Dariush to get Moicano. I don't feel like that's really making it up to me. That's just, I'll be honest with you. If I'm getting somebody from the top 15, that doesn't feel like they're making it up to me. It just feels like, business as usual. If they're making it up to me, I just like somebody ranked ahead of me. That's the ideal situation. But man, Lord knows at this point what's going to happen.
The other thing that could happen is if Michael Chandler does lose, I know you don't want to be fighting guys coming off a loss, but if he does lose, you and Michael Chandler potentially could finally match up.
Yeah, yeah. Or I could fight Paddy. That'd be great too. Unless they could literally. I know they like him, so they could set him up just for a title shot right away. And I know
Yeah. If
Makachev is
Paddy's
looking.
winning, he ain't fighting anyone else. They're not risking
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
they want Makachev to. Makachev wants to fight new guys, two guys he hasn't fought before, so it's an easy setup there. Yeah, we'll see, man. In an ideal world, to be honest with you, bro, like no one seems to want to fight Ilia Topuria. If that's an option, I'd take that fight. Like bro, he's such a great fighter. Like what an opportunity. I'd love to fight him.
Dude, I'd love to see you and Ilya fight. I think that's a great fight. And I believe that he shouldn't get the immediate title shot. I think he should have to fight someone in the division first. I think you and him would make a great fight. Break that fight down for me a little bit. How would you approach a puzzle like an Ilia Topuria?
You have to mitigate his power because he has such power in his hands. You have to be able to wrestle with him because he is a great grappler. And then ultimately, you have to be aware of his ability to change the game because everybody, whenever they think about Ilya, they think about, boxing, boxing. But his last two fights, both Holloway and and Volkanovski, you know what he did? He took advantage. Everybody was so worried about his boxing. Both these guys were so worried about boxing. He would leg kick them. He would go straight for the calf. He would take out their base, and then that's when the boxing came in. Because in reality, both Holloway and Volkanovski were outlanding him with in the hands department. They look
Mhm.
like they even had a speed advantage, but he was able to keep his base solid, move forward, find an opening, which was that calf kick and leg kick, and he ripped him. I mean, I remember seeing Volkanovski do a 360 spin from from those kicks, and after a few of those, both guys were tentative to move in, and that's where he got the knockout. So, you have to be aware where the danger is, and I think the danger is everywhere when you fight a guy like that. And I think I am well rounded enough to beat him. It's going to be about the opportunity. Am I going to get that opportunity?
Well, I love the fact that you're putting your hand up, man. I know there's going to be people in the comment section like, oh, Beneil, he's calling out Ilia, blah, blah, blah. But I love the fact that you're always calling out the toughest challenges and always talking about the hardest fights. And I agree with you, man. I think that's a great fight. I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
Just quickly. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
would love that fight. I mean, I don't care what the fans
The
say. I
comment
get it.
section's going off right now, but guys, calm down. The guy
Yeah,
wants to fight. These guys just go out of control. Oh, why would Beneil say that? Beneil wants to
yeah.
fight a challenging fight, guys. Can you relax?
Yeah, I
Jeez.
mean, like when I retire, I'm not gonna be looking at the comment section. You know what I mean? When I
Yeah.
retire, I'm gonna know who I fought, and I'm gonna be grateful that I was able to fight the best guys in the world.
I got to quickly ask you, do you think there's a chance that Islam's next fight might be a welterweight? Because Bilal is fighting JDM. I know JDM pretty well down here in Australia. He's actually a lot bigger of a challenge than what people realize. If JDM goes out there and beats Bilal, do you think there's a chance Islam just goes up to welterweight next?
Could be. That's totally possible as well. That's definitely a possibility. Yeah, I never thought about that.
How about that? Bringing in new
Yeah,
scenarios. This division's on the move, right? We don't know what's going to happen week by week by week. We don't know what's happening.
yeah. Man, week by week. Next week, we're gonna have a whole new a landscape of the lightweight division after the fights.
And what about Max Holloway? Like, hey, I just got out of featherweight. Now Ilya's coming here.
Yeah,
What the hell's going on here?
and I know people are like, oh, he just knocked him out, but like, if they fight again, the fight will be a lot closer than people think. I think Max can make the adjustments, and he'll be fine. So it's like, the division is so exciting right now. We have such good guys. It's easily the most stacked division.
I'd love to see you versus Max Holloway at some point as well. Anyway, lots of good fights, man. It's not. Look. The good thing about your division, once this figures out, there's a lot of fun new fights for you to have with cool new names. So everybody get out there on the internet. Let's demand a fight for Beneil Dariush. Let's get him back in the motion. And in the meantime, man, what can people do? Can they check anything out down at Kings Anaheim? Is there anything that's happening in the meantime that you want people to check out?
Right now, I'm just training in the mornings, and then I kind of come just watch the guys. I do more recovery stuff at night, do a little bit of training at night as well. But yeah, if people want to come down to the gym and see us, pro practice or the MMA classes are in the mornings, they can come say hi. We got a bunch of fighters, but yeah, not nothing specific that I can think of, brother.